welcome to another episode of Podcast 572. As always, my name is Kyle, and as always, I'm joined by my friends Dan and Matt. We're going to go through the news as we do every 2 weeks. We're going to take some of your emails. We've got a lot of emails. And we're going to talk about what we're playing, which is what we're going to kick off with, as always. I have had an interesting 2 weeks of some personal life stuff, so I have not played as much as I normally would. I talked last time we recorded a lot about I'm going to play Scorn. I played 20 minutes of Scorn. All I will say about Scorn, and Matt, actually, you've played a lot more Scorn than I have, so I'm going to let you talk mostly about that game. I will just say, the 20 minutes I played, I really like the atmosphere. So I look forward to playing more of it. But that's literally, and that was today. I played 20 minutes of it. So right before we started recording. Just because I wanted to say, well, I've at least played it. The biggest thing this week for me is I finished the Quarry, finally. It's actually kind of funny because when I finished the Quarry, I didn't realize, where I had saved it last, I had, 15 minutes left of that game. And then it was, the end, and then it was, the end credits, which goes on way too fucking long. It's, 25 minutes of credits because you're listening to a podcast between two people. So it's talking about the events of what happened.
So it's in story of what's going on. Okay.
What's interesting about that, though, is, I wonder if the way you play the game, if that recording changes, depending on who lives and who dies and that kind of thing.
I would have to assume it does.
I would assume it does. I would assume so, but I'm still mixed on the Quarry. In terms of Supermassive games, I've played all of them. I think this is their weakest one. And I think a lot of it has to do with there's two reasons. One, too much teenage bullshit. Way more than the other. If you play any of the Dark Pictures games or, go back to the first, what's the name of the first one they did? Until Dawn, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Until Dawn, had a really good balance of, okay, there's some teenage bullshit, but also there's, a lot of spooky elements here. This game takes way too long to get to that. And then when it does, it's okay. The other thing I'll say, and I don't want to spoil it, I don't know how much is out there about, what the monsters actually are in the game.
Don't say
there? Okay.
Don't say
I'm not going to say what they are.
I'm going to play it at some point.
Okay. I won't say what they are, but I thought their designs were kind of lame as well. So, with that being said, it's a phenomenal looking game graphically, except for any water effects. Any water effects in this game look like they're swimming in jello. It's really weird. There's a scene where, two teenage kids are fucking around in the Quarry, obviously. And, they're splashing around in the water. It just looks like they're, splashing thick globs of jello. It's really weird. So, and for a game that looks so good, it's just really weird, why does it look that way? So, but in terms of, the story, I don't know. I just thought it was the weakest. So, and maybe it's how I played the game. So, I'll say, obviously how these games works, you can either get everybody to live, everybody to die, or, a mixture. When I ended the game, I think 2 of the characters died.
How many are there?
Of the main characters that you play as, there's 6, I want to say.
Okay.
6 or 7. Because when the game starts, there's 2 characters that are in the intro, and then they disappear that you play as one of them. They disappear for a while because of how the story goes, and then later on they come back into the story and you play as that one person again. So, and they kind of explain what happens.
Okay.
So, it's not bad. I'll say it's not a bad game or anything like that. I just playing every single one of the studio's games, I feel like this one is the weakest one that they put out story-wise. That's not to deter anyone from playing it though. And again, as I've said, and I'll bang the drum again, don't buy it for $70, obviously.
Right.
But you can find it for half that price now anywhere.
Well, Black Friday's coming, about a month or so.
Yeah, I was about to say, I'm pretty sure it'll drop to, what is that? GameStop does a 25, a 30, or
something like that.
There was always different things, and sometimes it would depend on publishers. Sometimes it's it's 30% off, or otherwise it'd be 15, 25, 35. I could see Quarry being
something like that.
$40, maybe 35.
Also, it's also important to note this, and only this specific game by them, is published by 2K, so they'll put it on.
Oh
yeah, 2K.
Because remember, 2K picked up the rights when Stadia went down, because this was originally a Stadia exclusive game.
Yeah.
So
2K always would put stuff on sale a lot more than a lot of other people did.
I would say Black Friday, if I had to guess, I'd say it'll be $30 Black Friday. That feels like the right price point for Black
Friday. I could
see
it being 35 because that's half off.
30, 35, and then since it's not a game that has a free upgrade, the older versions will be $10 less.
Cheaper, yeah.
Other game I played, I only played like an hour of this, and I haven't had a chance to go back. This was one I actually randomly bought a physical copy of when I went into the GameStop order by me maybe a month ago. It's this scary game called Phobia St. Dinfa Hotel, which just looked really interesting. Like, I'd never heard of it. I was in the store. I looked up on OpenCritic. I'm like, does this game have decent reviews? It has decent reviews. I'm like, all right. It's a first-person horror game. Kind of reminds me of like it's again, PT influenced so many things in the horror genre for games in the last 7 years. So it's another first person.
That is a genre now.
It is a genre now.
PT
so
is, yeah.
It's kind of one of those, but you can do a little bit more. So you start out basically when the game starts, you start out in like a flashback. So you're like in this jail cell. You're trying to figure out what's going on. Not spoiling anything, some spooky stuff happens, and then it kind of jumps forward into the character that you're actually playing, who is going to this hotel to write a story for this newspaper that he just started working at. And the story that he's writing is about the disappearance of the character that you played as in the intro.
Okay, yeah.
So you're trying to figure out like what's going on with this character. And obviously spooky shit starts happening right away. So
of course.
It's pretty cool. I'll also say like I have it on the PS5. It looks really good graphically. It does have like a performance mode and a ray tracing mode. You flip on ray tracing mode, it's real bad. So I'm not going to do that. Like it's real, like maybe 20 frames. So I kept it at the high frame rate mode. It looks stunning like that way. So, but that seems like a cool game. I'm going to continue. And then honestly, really the last thing that I have, and I also just looked at this now because I totally forgot about it until today. The full release of Vampire Survivors is out, which, like, we'll see how the rest of the year wraps up. But right now, it's my game of the year for the $3 game.
Yeah.
They put a lot into this full release. They've completely overhauled all the music. So, like, I'd say, like, the music that was in the game would be something I would almost say was, like, placeholder. This is, like, straight up banging Castlevania-like tunes now. So, like, real, like, I actually connected like my PC speakers because I was like, oh, I'll just throw this on a little bit and play around, and like this shit was bumping. I was really surprised. Cool. They have a different like they kind of updated the graphics because what happened between in this like last 6 months, they actually switched engines on the backside, so the game actually runs a lot smoother now, which is cool too.
Oh, okay.
And they've added some more characters because now it's a full release. Unfortunately, there's no. I actually restarted on Game Pass, so I'm playing on PC there. There is no cloud support for it yet. That's what I was hoping for because I wanted to play it, with my backbone.
Yeah.
Since they still haven't put it out on console, but it does have full achievements now. So,
that's cool.
Which is cool. Like it didn't have that in preview, but now it does. So that's an incentive for me just to start over and play through. So
yeah.
But that kind of wraps up. Like I said, it was kind of a week for me, or 2 weeks because I had some other personal stuff going on. But I will kick it over to you, Dan. And you can talk about what you've been playing.
Yeah, I played a whole bunch of random kind of stuff, just moving on from other things. And the number one thing I played this week was that Dragon Quest Builders game because they added it to Premium on Plus.
Yeah.
I never got around to them when they first came out because it was, oddly enough, like that one and especially the second one, never really went down to like a price that I was like, oh, I'll buy it now and play it. Like they always kind of hung up in price, which is weird. But for them to add those and then both of the Heroes games to Plus, I was like, finally, I could just play through all these games. I really like this game a lot. Like, I know it's something I think I knew it was something I would like.
Yeah, but, you're just playing the first one, right?
I'm just playing the first one. Yeah, I'm just going to do them in a row. Just back to back.
Really good.
Yeah, like, it's really good. It's a really good mix of, like, exploration and, like, Minecraft type stuff, but with, like, actually, like, a purpose. Like, actually feel like... I'm driven forward to do things.
It's a more focused version of Minecraft.
Yeah, like you do little quests and stuff, and you don't spend a ton of time building stuff, but it's and the building is simplistic, but it's easy enough to kind of understand almost immediately. And like I'm having fun just rebuilding the first little town, and then going out and getting doing the little quests they have you do, which is what drives it forward, where you learn how to make things and all that stuff. It's super chill. Like it's not difficult at all.
It's a very chill game.
Yeah, unless you go out of your way too early
to make it difficult.
Yeah. Like if you try to explore too far, you'll run into stuff that will make it a problem for you. But
sure.
if you kind of stick to what it tells you to do in the beginning and kind of mess around in the first area to get ready, uh, it's a lot of fun. And like you meet little other people, and they give you, hey, build me this kind of room, or build me that kind of room, or build a kitchen. And
yeah, I think like once you start building the town, you'll have random like characters run to your town and be like, "I really need help with this or that," and then they might join like your little community.
Like somebody showed up and he was like, you really need to make like a kitchen so we can cook food, and then that's how you learn how to cook food. One of the cooler things is like
a chef or something.
Yeah, they'll start to make stuff for you without using like your ingredients and stuff, and you can go get things, and you'll always have food without having to do it yourself, which is nice because it kind of takes out some of the tedious parts of it.
Yeah,
sure. Yeah.
Yeah, it's super fun. Like, and it's not.
Really, it's really colorful.
It's very.
It's like that Dragon Quest art style.
Oh yeah, it
looks amazing.
It's clearly a Dragon Quest game.
The music, obviously,
music is great.
Dragon Quest music, and it's all in there.
All the enemies and stuff are there, and like you kill a slime and you get goo, which you can use to make torches and all this other kind of stuff. And I also like that there's like an incentive to like decorate things, and like that makes your base better because your base can level up and all that kind of stuff. So it's pretty fun. And then every so often, you have to defeat like a raid, like where guys will just run up on your base and wreck shit. But it's fun because it gives it. You can't sleep on the combat in the game. Like you have to participate in that kind of stuff, which is fine. It's good. So I played a lot of that. I'm definitely going to finish that one, and then I think my plan is to finish that and then move on to the Heroes game, number one, and then go to Builders 2 and then Heroes 2. Just because I like Muso games, so I'm looking forward to playing.
It's a really good one too. At least the first one. I haven't played this. I have the second one. I never played the second one, but it's a really good one.
The other like premium thing I checked out really quick just because I moved on from Wheel of Fortune, I guess, was Monopoly Plus is on there for free.
Okay. Wasn't that the one that was trashed when it came out?
Yeah, I remember there was a Monopoly on, I want to say Switch when it came out, where remember like the load times were like 5 minutes or something.
That's right.
I think it is this version because the load times on my PS4 copy of this game on PS5 are bad. Like for a Monopoly game, it makes zero sense how this game plays so incredibly slow. Every aspect of this game is slow. You want to like roll the dice, you have to hit X like twice to roll the dice, and then and then there's actually the animation of the dice rolling. It's like just skip it, man. Just tell me the number, and then here's your token.
Press start to skip it, or
some of the animations you cannot.
Oh, okay.
Some of them you can skip, but it's just awful, and it takes forever to move around. Like I played it for a little bit and was like, yeah, I think I'm done. I like Monopoly. This is a bad version of Monopoly, so that's gone.
Probably play the board game faster.
Yeah, exactly. I'd rather play that. You can play weirder versions of that game. The main other game I played on console was I bought that Arcade Paradise game because there's a physical version of it.
Yeah,
and I've had it on my like digital wish list for a while, and then I must have forgot that they made a physical version, but then I saw it on Amazon one day for $25, and I was like, I'm just gonna do it because we talked about how we like those like sim. Like the lawn mowing simulator and house flipper and all that kind of stuff. And that's basically what this is, except you're
just building an arcade.
Not real. Well, kind of. You're running a laundromat first. And then there's an arcade in the back room.
Okay.
So like what happened, the storyline is your dad leaves you his laundromat for you to run. And your sister, I guess, had run it at some point and left some arcade machines in the back.
Okay.
And you one of the things you do, like your maintenance throughout the day, is to empty the coins out of the machines, and your character finds out that like, oh, these actually make more money than the laundromat does.
Oh,
so you try to convince your dad, like, hey, maybe we should just make an arcade. He's like, no, it's all about laundry. People got to do laundry. So you kind of make this like bootleg arcade in the back room without him knowing, because you got to order new machines. It's got like a 90s vibe to it because you order stuff like on the computer, but it looks like an old like GeoCities webpage.
Okay, I'm into that. Yeah,
it's pretty cool. And like instead of MTV, there's NTV, and it's got like it's like rocking music and all that kind of stuff. So first you buy a couple machines, and then your sister, she works for City Hall. She's like, I can get you a permit to expand the back of the building, and then
sounds amazing.
You work your way up to that. And then the back becomes the arcade. Like the overall goal is eventually like the whole thing becomes an arcade. Like you phase out the laundry machines.
That makes sense.
But literally, what you're doing in the beginning is literally doing people's laundry. Like you will, like laundry baskets will get set down. You'll put them in the washing machine. They go for 2 minutes or whatever. You take them out, put them in the dryer. Take them out, put them on the shelf, and you get money for doing that. The game's very generous with giving you money. Like you get money for taking out the trash. It's like every day when you come in, in the morning, like it's a shithole, and there's just burger wrappers and socks and all this stuff. You got to clean everything up. There's a mini game for throwing the trash into the dumpster. And however well you do it, you get extra money. Like it's fun. Like tedious, like busy work. The only thing that sucks is like doing the washing and the drying takes like 3 minutes in real time. So there's a lot of time you're sitting there kind of doing nothing. But the point of it is you're supposed to use that time to play the arcade machines in the back. So like every arcade machine you can buy for this place is playable. Like it's its own little.
Are they actual games, or are they just knockoffs? No,
they're knockoffs, but they're games.
You know what they are.
Yes. Okay. But it's cool because every single one of them is playable. I have not gotten to the point of this yet, but like every arcade cabinet has like challenges you can do to earn extra stuff. I haven't unlocked that feature yet.
Oh, okay.
So like there is an incentive to play them. It's just a fun like chill hangout kind of a game.
Is it a PS4 game you're playing on PS5?
I have a PS5 copy of it.
Okay.
Like a physical
and it runs
PS5
pretty good? Like,
because it's got a 90s pixel.
That's fine. I like that
aesthetic to it. You will like it. You will like
that's
it.
The
funniest part, one of the mini games too, I forgot to mention, is cleaning the toilet. Every so often you'll get how it works is you'll get a little notice on your like Casio display watch.
Yeah.
That'll say like wash, dry, or like WC for water closet. And that means you have to go unclog the toilet.
Okay.
That's a mini game which has the toilet has hit points and stuff, and you have to do it.
Okay.
That's fun, and like there's people, you see people hanging out in the arcade, and from a distance they look good, but as you get closer, they purposely pixelate more and more until they just disappear when you get next to them. It's pretty funny because it's like the game is very self-aware of what it is.
Yeah. Okay.
And
how long has this been out?
It's been out for a little while, but
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. It's been on my digital thing for a long time because I think it's 20 on digital. I was waiting for it to be like 15 or 10 or whatever.
Yeah, that's what I normally do.
But then there was a physical copy. It was 25. I was like, yeah, you know what? I'm just gonna do it because I want to play that kind of game. Super fun. Like, there's clearly an end game, which would be to, take over the laundromat, get every machine, and just play like that. But that's okay because from that point on, then you could just play the arcade games. Yeah, it's cool. I really, really like it. I really recommend it.
I'm into it.
It's cheap. It's fun. You can like some of the arcade games are like co-op and stuff.
That's cool.
It's got a cool soundtrack. You can get a jukebox for the place.
Is it like that type of like 16-bit music?
Yeah. No, it's what you think
for the era.
Yeah. But it's really cool. It's got a lot of different arcade games and stuff.
Okay.
And then the last major thing I played, this only came out a couple days ago. A lot of people probably heard of it. Marvel Snap, the iOS like phone game.
Yeah.
It is awesome. It's so good.
Okay.
Like if you like card games,
card game.
It's a card game. It's very heavily a card game, but it's also it's each round is very short, or like each game is short. Like you could play an entire game in like 2 minutes.
Oh wow! Okay.
Yes, which is good because like it's made perfectly for mobile, and like you can just play through a couple games in a row. Even when you lose, there's a penalty, but it doesn't. I don't have a problem when I lose in this game.
No,
like you don't lose cards or anything like that. So how it works is basically you have a deck of cards, and you get 12 cards in your deck, and you customize it depending on the cards you have. So like they're all different Marvel characters. They each have 2 numbers on them. One is energy, and one is like power. Energy is how much it costs to play a card. Power is how powerful it is, and power is how you win. But energy is it's each card can go from like 1 to 6. So on turn 1, you have 1 energy. You can play 1 card that has a 1 on it. Turn 2 is 2 energy. So you can play 1-2 or 2-1s and so on and so on and so on. And obviously
the Star Wars card game.
Yeah, I'm sure it's taking a lot of pieces from other games because how it works is there's 3 like arenas in the middle. And you have to win 2 out of the 3 arenas with having the most power on your side. But where the game starts to get nuts is each arena has like an area effect. And then each card also has like abilities on it and stuff that can make things go like play an extra card, or now if you play a card after this card gets more powerful, or if you play like one card here, it'll put another card on a different arena. All this kind of stuff. It's nuts. So, but some of the arena stuff can get crazy where like the rules in them can drastically like affect the outcome. Where one of them was like after turn 3, every card on this arena just turns into the Hulk. But the Hulk is like the most powerful thing. So like you could play a 1 power card, but on turn 3 it turns into a 12. So you kind of have there's a lot of strategy going on where you have to like I don't have to necessarily like plan ahead, but you're playing against another person who's playing cards against you. So you have to think of like possible scenarios for how other things will work out. Sometimes you can get go ahead.
The characters in the
well, there's like everybody. There's most people you can think
heroes
of.
And villains.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And they're gonna roll more stuff out as it goes, just because.
Are they like? I'm assuming they're gonna be more like the comic version of the characters, and not trying to do like the MCU thing here.
No. It has nothing to do with that. It's all its own like artwork. It's all its own. Nothing is borrowing from the movies at all.
Okay. And when you say Marvel, it has like we're talking everything. We're talking like X-Men.
Oh, everybody.
Daredevil. Okay. So
yeah, it's got obscure people.
Okay.
Yeah, it's and they're and like so and then there's going to be seasonal events. Like the current one is the symbiote event where you are randomly assigned Venom or Carnage, and then depending on how well you do, you'll earn like cubes for your team because it's all about cosmic cubes. You'll earn them for your team, and then the winner is going to get stuff at the end. There's battle passes, there's missions, there's all this kind of stuff.
That was my next question. How is it monetized? Like, is it monetized in a way where it doesn't seem like it is pushing you personally to spend money.
I don't feel like anyone would ever have to spend money, and if they didn't want to.
Okay.
I will tell you, I'm probably going to spend $10. Because
that's where it was going.
I finally unlocked what's called like the premium pass. Like, like the game kind of forces you down a path to, teach you the game, obviously, but then teach you how missions work and what you can unlock and all this kind of stuff. And it gives you a ton of cards too. I'm going to probably spend $10 just because this premium pass is Spider-Man themed. Of course it is.
Of course.
And you can't get the Miles card without paying. You can get other cards in the line.
Sure.
But you also get extra benefits, obviously, if you have this premium thing. Like you get like the free ones they give you plus better stuff. And then every card can be like upgraded. And what's cool about upgrading the card is it doesn't really make it pay to win because it doesn't actually like upgrade the numbers on the card. So like it doesn't make a 1 power card a 2 power. It literally just changes the artwork. So like at first it's a flat picture. And then when you upgrade it once, it becomes uncommon and it breaks the frame so they can come out of the frame.
That's cool.
And then so it's kind of like a new skin.
Yeah, exactly. And then the next one is rare and it becomes like a 3D card. So if you tilt your phone, it kind of like moves around. And then the fourth one is animated and so on and so on and so on, which is cool. You can get variant pictures of cards. Like I have
the highest level. Is it just like a clip of the character from?
I don't know. I don't know yet because the highest one I have so far is Jessica Jones. She's I have at level 4. And then you can get like pixelated artwork, which are like variant cards, which are kind of neat. It definitely feels like the card collector person in me, but it also feels like obviously like the Marvel fan. But the game is really deep. Like when the arenas get revealed, because they get revealed like one at a time, so you don't know what the other two are going to be, and sometimes they're bad. Where it's like if you put a card here, it has -3 power, or if you put a card here, it gets immediately destroyed. But there are benefits to having cards destroyed because that might help another card. Yeah. So there are things you can like kind of plan moves ahead. but your deck has to be built right because you don't get all your cards at once. You get 4 to start with. So there are turns where I don't have valid cards to play. So you kind of have to hope that the other guy doesn't take a big enough lead to kind of screw you. But
so do you keep the destroyed cards?
Yeah, it's just destroyed for that game. It's out of the game kind of thing. Or you'll play a card on an arena and then it'll be randomly destroy a card from your hand and it just disappears. I had one really fucking bizarre game where I think I took a picture of it just because the rules in it were insane.
Okay.
What was it? It was at one point. So one of the arenas was after turn 3, all cards swap sides. So any cards on his board would come to mine and mine would go to his. I didn't play it, so I was I'm just not going to play any cards on that board. Yeah. And this guy played 2, so I got 2 cards for free on that thing. And then there was another one where it was if you play a card here, whoever has the most card here automatically gets 100 power, which sounds weird, but it actually means nothing because if you have the same amount of cards, then nobody has more cards. So it's nobody gets anything going on. So you can kind of play to tie because if you each win one and the other one ties, then it just adds all of your power numbers together to see what it is. Some people I don't think understand that when they're playing the game. They just try to load up one thing and win oh, I won this one by 12. It doesn't matter. You lost the other 2 because you didn't play the cards right. But it's only been out for a couple of days. I've played a lot of it. I'm ranked 20 already. Which
I'll try it.
Ranking gets weird after a certain point because you can either win cubes or lose cubes, and that's how your ranking is determined. During the game, if you think you're winning or if you think you're gonna win, you can snap. You can snap. Get it? Double snap. And you can double the cubes won or lost. So you're oh, I'm gonna win. I'm gonna snap and make it 2 cubes instead. But they can snap 2. So they can snap it to 4 if they think they're going to win. The game also gives you an out after turn 5. If you think you're going to lose, you can retreat. You can be I give up, and you can only lose half of what it would be. So
how often do people do that?
I've only had one guy retreat.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. I have had multiple people snap thinking they were going to win, and then I win, which is good for me. But yeah, sometimes it's luck based too, because that's how just how card games are. Where one of the arenas was if you play a card here, there's a 25% chance it'll just get destroyed. But I was playing a card where if it's the only card on that arena, it automatically doubles in power. And if and if it stuck, I would win. I was I guess I'm just gonna go for it and put it down. And he didn't get destroyed, so I won. But he could have. So luck is a factor. But I definitely think it's more strategy than luck. But it's great. It's free. Like I said, I'm gonna give it $10 just because I'm enjoying the hell out of it, and I think a game I enjoy the hell out of is worth $10.
Yeah, absolutely. It's kind of the Supercard thing we did every year when I played
over 7 years of Supercard. I've probably given them $100 total. Yeah. But that's because I've played that game for 7 years.
Yeah. No,
so I think that's fair.
It's about the price of buying the game. So yeah, exactly.
Cheaper than what I pay to play Final Fantasy 14, and I'm not even playing that right now. But that's pretty much it for me. But Marvel Snap, very good. Everybody should play it.
Okay. Yeah, I haven't been checking it. How about you,
I just downloaded it actually while we were talking about it.
I should get a boat. That's the one thing it doesn't have. It doesn't have friends or anything like that yet. It really should, just so you could see other stacks and maybe
I'm sure they'll build
down the line. There'll be clans or you can form your own Avengers team and stuff, and you could go out against other teams and stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, that sounds. I mean, that'd be pretty cool.
That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah.
What about you, Matt? What you been playing? And obviously, we know Scorn. So.
Yeah, so I'm gonna get to that. I'll go through the other two because they're pretty quick. I'm trying to finish up Serial Cleaners. I am on episode 19, and I think there's only 20. So I'm kind of. I'm all right. You know what? I need to get through it. Yeah, I need to get through it. But this level 19 has become such a pain. I die 8 times, and then I'm just you know what? I stop. I throw the controller down. I gotta walk away for a minute. I played some more Evil Within. I haven't got too much into that, but I'm still digging it. I've been enjoying this one way more than the first one. So I mean, that's very positive in my eyes. But just now, since I've gotten those out the way, we can talk about Scorn. I'm
Yeah.
maybe like an hour and a half into it, honestly, so I'm not too much further than you. I think the thing I kind of appreciate about it is like it just throws you into the game.
Yeah,
I
it doesn't
really
explain anything.
appreciate that. Like it,
Yeah.
it wasn't like, yo, here's how you hit, here's how you move. It was just like boop. And I was like, when the game started, I was like, is something
Yeah.
coming up? I was like, what am I looking for? And it was just like boop. And I was like, damn, okay, that's pretty cool. So like it took me a minute to get through the first part of the puzzle. But then when I started getting it, I was like, okay, I see what's happening here. I think
Yeah.
I was going in thinking it was a different game than what it really was. I
I
think that was
that's
my
what
problem.
a lot of people.
I think that
were
is.
going into.
Yeah, I think that game surprised a lot of people. It's not
Yeah,
that kind of game.
like kind of how like No Man's Sky was originally. Like
Yeah, exactly.
everybody thought it was going to be a little like shoot 'em up every land, and then like when I bought No Man's Sky when it first released because
We all did.
I remember reading about it and hearing that it was like literally a mining type game. That was it. Like you could
Minecraft,
find
yeah.
creatures, yeah. And that's what I went into it thinking, like it was just that type of game. So like when everybody was talking so much shit about it, I was like, but they really just kind of told you what the game was. You just were expecting it to be something different.
People
I know
thought
now
that game
it's
was
something different.
Oh, it's not even close to what they said it was going to be in the beginning.
Right, exactly. So I mean, it wasn't like
kind of now, but
well, I think it's beyond that now.
Yeah, it's kind of insane.
So, I mean, I'm not really like mad about it, but like, I think I was looking for it to be kind of like Doom or like like.
I think that's what a lot of people expect.
To the aspect of that, and like when I went walking around for like the first 20, 30 minutes and I ain't run into anything, I was like, what the fuck is happening here?
Where's the gun?
Nothing has attacked me. Like, what is going on? And then I finally realized, oh shit, this is like a puzzle game.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right, coolio. And that's where my views changed. And I was like, all right, now I got to go into this thinking of something different. So I was like, okay, you know what? It is. It's a puzzle game. Let's get through it. But I've honestly, the hour and a half I've played, I've enjoyed it. Like I haven't played much more of it since I think I started on like Monday night.
Okay.
And I haven't played too much more of it, but what I have played of it has been pretty fun. And
have you finished any of the acts? Because I think there's 5 like chapters or acts.
No, I haven't. Okay. Right now, I'm on like maybe the 4th or 5th puzzle from the very start.
From the beginning. Okay.
Yeah. So it's not. I will say it is like you have to pay attention because I got stuck on like the 3rd puzzle for a while until I looked up something, and it was like literally the one thing I needed to do to it was literally right next to where I was, and I was pissed because I was like, "Fuck! I just didn't look at this one little spot. I looked at everything else except for here." So, I'm enjoying it. I think once you realize the game isn't what you thought it was going to be, you need to just change your mind and kind of move with it, or just don't give it any time of day. But I'm cool with it. Like I think it's a lot of fun so far. So I'm hoping this weekend I can jump into some more of it so I can kind of work through it. But I mean I've enjoyed it so far.
Yeah, I'm gonna have time like Sunday during the day, and that's my plan is to get more of it. Because like for me, like the reason I was most excited about Scorn is the design of it. As this like H.R. Geiger or whatever the guy, I can't think of the guy's name. The guy that did all the Alien design.
Yeah.
Oh, it's almost like you're playing as one of those engineers from Alien, like trying to figure out what's going on. That's what the game looks like to me. But like I've known for a long time that it's a puzzle game, but I think a lot of the critics and stuff out there did not expect that, and that's why the reviews are kind of all over the place for the game.
I think a lot of people thought it was more like
Doom,
Doom, or even more like that, like an Alien game, like like an action Alien game. But it's not,
and it's clearly not. Like it takes obviously, the designs that guy made.
Sure,
because obviously that was just his art style. Was that weird like goopy alien, which I'm really into. So like,
I was gonna say, dude, the art style of it is beautiful.
Amazing.
Like I really enjoy it, and like the whole like when you're like reaching into something, you hear like that is like super dope. Like I watched a video on it, and this was after I think you were talking about that it was coming out. I watched a video on it, and the guy was talking about, like your every time you get past something, you get added to your body, or like your body morphs into something different. And
Okay.
I was like, that sounds like a pretty cool, like, just idea behind the game. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's why especially because I knew you said you were gonna buy it, so I was like, oh, okay, well,
Well, it's on Game Pass. I was like, I'm gonna play it on
exactly.
Game Pass.
So
Exactly.
I
Right.
didn't know it was coming to Game Pass, and then like
Okay.
on the day one it released on Game Pass, and I was like, oh shit, you know what? Let's just go ahead and download it and just give it a try
Yeah.
and see what happens. If I don't like it, I'll delete it. Not a big deal.
The
But I
other
mean,
the other thing it reminds me of too is especially going around the ship is the original Prey from like 2006. I don't know if you've ever played the
yeah,
original. I'm not the 2017 reboot, but the original. Just going around the ship kind of reminds me of the spaceship you were trapped in that game. So because that was
yeah,
very if anybody out there listening played that game back in 2006, it's very ahead of its time. A lot of puzzle solving on that ship, like more than I think people would have expected. So it kind of reminds me of that in a way, which is really cool.
yeah. I could see that. I mean, so far though, I can tell you if you got Game Pass, give it a shot.
Yeah,
Especially
absolutely.
if you're a fan of puzzle games, which I think kind of this week I decided I am. So I was like, all right, well, I guess I kind of dig on this. So that's where I'm at right now.
All right. Well, yeah, and like I said, I plan to do a lot more of it. I actually want to review it on my YouTube channel. I just obviously I didn't get a chance to really get a lot of it done, but
Yeah.
hopefully this weekend and this next week for sure I'm gonna push through. It's not very long either. I read it's like maybe up to 8 to 10 hours. So,
Oh,
and
good.
that, I
Okay.
think for that type of game, perfect length. Like
You probably
I don't want
want,
a 40
you
hour.
probably don't want it to stretch on to be a 40-hour puzzle.
40 hour, yeah, exactly.
Body
I don't think
horror.
anybody wants
Yeah,
that.
no.
So, well, why don't we shift gears here and get into the news because we got a lot of news. A lot of things happened in the last 2 weeks, and we'll just kind of go down the list from the different things that as they happen. That's kind of how we add them in here. So, the first thing that's a pretty big deal. The thing that I'm excited about, and I think most people are excited about with the Persona announcement from a couple months ago, is that Persona 4 and 3 have a release date now, and they're the same day.
That's kind of weird. Yeah.
It's kind of weird. So they've probably been working on it for a while, but I believe it's January 21st,
19.
2023. January 19th. Okay.
Yep.
So it's January 19th next year. So kind of right around the corner.
It is.
Honestly a good time to put those out. So, because like it's going to be a little bit before, I'm sure things are going to start getting hectic once we hit February. But it's a good time to put those out. Because Persona 5 Royal just came out today for Game Pass, PC, Switch.
Yeah.
If you want to buy it on PS5 again, you have to pay for it.
Yeah, and your save doesn't transfer. Yeah.
So, I mean, and I'll say this: if you've never played Persona 5, there's your opportunity to play it. Now it's on everything. It's one of the best RPGs ever made. So, go play it. I'm gonna, and I've already played. I put 100 hours into that game. I don't think I need to play the Royal version, but if that's the version you haven't played it, that's the version you play today.
Just play that.
I played Persona 4 like a decade ago on the Vita.
I played 3 on the PS2 when it came out.
I've never played 3.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to play 3, but I have played through 4. I want to replay 4. Really like that one. I think I might do 3 first.
Yeah, at this point, I think I'll just do both of them in a row.
Yeah, but I'm going to start for 3 because I've never played it. I've always wanted to. I have ways I could play it, but this is going to be the best.
Sure, yeah, I still have my PS2 copy of it, but at this point, no. I'll probably wait for a sale because I know there'll be a sale.
Yeah,
and,
exactly.
And then just get them then. Mm-hmm.
For sure. Next thing we had another one of those fun, mystery device on Phil Spencer's shelf. I think a lot of people went kind of crazy on this.
People went nuts.
It's a new console, which
they thought it was the stream box.
I think it's very clear it's the streaming little stick thing. That's what it probably is.
Well, he said it's an old prototype of something else, and it could be anything. I mean, it could just be an old.
Yeah.
Who knows what it is? But if it could be the stream box, which
it could be.
Maybe it's just an old version of what the stream box is. I think realistically they probably want to get that stream box thing down to like a stick or something. Like I think that
I would imagine it's just it's about the size of a Roku. That's what I would imagine.
Yeah, this seems a little bit bigger than that. This seems like it would still a box I would have to put on a shelf. You know?
Yeah, I think that's what they're trying to get away
not
from.
much bigger than a controller, to be fair.
For sure.
But I mean, even an Xbox, One X is small. Like it's not.
It is.
I think if they could get it to a Roku size or a Stream Stick size where I would just plug it into my TV, I think
that's clearly the idea.
That would be great.
You want it behind your TV hidden.
That's probably the second version of that. It's I would imagine the first version is Roku-esque.
Yeah. Like maybe the size of a hockey puck or something.
Yeah, but I mean, if it could literally be, especially with most TVs these days having, USB 3.0 ports and stuff on them, it's realistically that's as fast as it really needs to be.
It is.
You just plug a stick into that, and then there's no wires, and it just Bluetooth syncs to your controller. That's
exactly
the ideal.
My guess is they will probably sell a version of it that comes with a controller and a version that doesn't, that have a controller.
Well, because it can just fit in a controller-sized box.
Exactly.
It just goes underneath the controller. Boom.
And that's exactly what they'll play.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, I still think.
Let me ask you a question. What's the
2023?
What's the most you'd pay for one?
If I personally, I don't. If I did, I would say probably $50.
It's stream. Yeah, let's say it's stream.
Because that's the price of a Roku is like $40-$50. I'd say $50.
I would say probably the price of a controller. I think would be fair.
Yeah,
I would think that would be fair too.
Yeah,
and I could also see like, hey, here's the version of the controller is like $80 because you get
a pack in what I would say would be like $100 for like a set.
Yeah,
that's where I was kind of leaning towards. Yeah,
I think if it was $100 and you got a controller and the thing, and then like a month of Game Pass or 2 weeks or whatever the hell it is they do now, like because they'd obviously give you a trial with it.
Oh, there's no way they wouldn't. Well, that's the point of it. But I think $100 for like a controller plus it is a very sweet price point for what that is.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Especially because, imagine you could just go up, you want to play it on a different TV, you just go upstairs and plug it into that TV. Done.
Exactly, yeah.
It's incredible. You want to go to a friend's house and show them what it is?
Yeah.
Boom, done. That's incredible.
Hey, man, it's like the early 360 eras where it's like, just rip off this hard drive and bring over to your friend's house.
No, don't do that.
Yeah. No, I'm talking about the 360?
I know. Still, not a great idea, but okay.
Yeah. Next thing up here, I've already trashed Saints Row on this podcast, but they finally are talking about fixing it. They're going to have a new patch out in November. So after probably a month of silence, they have to fix it. It's very clear they have to at least fix it.
Is this going to really save face, though?
I think it'll help.
I don't know.
If they can,
I think it'll help a little bit.
Let's say they get a patch out for that early December. I think that helps. Mm-hmm. But if this is the kind of thing where it's like, well, the patch isn't going to be ready for 6 months or whatever. If they have any hope of saving face with not just this game, but like this franchise, it needs to be done.
Yeah.
This has to be done. They could have said fuck it and left it because clearly they're already just.
They kind of did for a while.
They kind of did.
Exactly.
They literally had that one tweet where they were like, "Yeah, we know about the problems. We're working on it," and then said nothing for like a month.
You had that guy come out and he was like, "Oh, it's already failed, so we're kind of backing off." It's like, no, it could. This is a franchise people care about. Something. You can fix it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's good news that they're fixing it, but they got to do it. It doesn't have to be done like next week, but it's got to be sooner rather than later.
For sure. Sony's promising to have more PS5s available. I think they're promising to have more PS5s available this fall as well, from what I read.
Yeah,
and
they are.
Into next year. And then I guess they're still talking about that other model. So the other rumor going around right now is that there is some sort of redesign of it that would be out next September. Is that supposed to be the detachable one? Is it the same thing or is it different?
It would have to be, right? It's too soon
I don't
to make a
understand the
new
detachable thing.
Well, you know what I laugh about? They're like, that would be for if you decide to upgrade your system later. What?
So what are you upgrading? What are you going to put out later?
From not having a drive to having a drive.
Oh, I see. Okay.
But the whole point is if Sony had their way, you wouldn't have a drive.
Exactly. So it doesn't make sense.
It's just a weird thing. Or
now you want to redesign that system to make it A, look attractive, B, be smaller.
I don't know. At this point, it has sat. It's sat on my shelf for so long, just sitting on its side that. Yeah, I really could give a shit what it looks. It's still ugly as hell, but I could give a shit what it looks like anymore.
Did you ever change out the fins?
No, not yet. I haven't. At some point, I will. I do want to get. I wanted to get a purple set for my controller, but
okay.
I don't care. I would.
I did the black just because it matches everything else. Now
well, there's really that.
Pay attention to it,
there's that. But I would like it. I don't know. I would like it to be more box like. It doesn't. Like they don't need to look
have
cool.
A special stand
it doesn't need to be fins and all this shit. Like it's like
it just needs to be a box that like look. You know what's a great design like aesthetically? The PS4 and the PS4 Pro, the actual system design.
Just a black. Yeah, I saw my Spider-Man one over there. Yeah, it's just
and that's good too.
Stepped up system, and it's got a big Spider-Man logo on the top.
You guys don't like the PS5 Civics, you know, where you can put like a wing on the back of them and shit like that?
Weird.
Put some rims on the front of it.
It's just weird.
It just does. I don't understand what the point. I guess is to make it like stand out. But you think somebody's gonna come into your house, and be like, "Whoa, is that what the PS5 looks like? I'm gonna get one." I mean, you can't.
No, absolutely.
That's not the point. Everybody wants one, no matter what it looks like. It's just whatever. But yeah, every company always says every holiday, we're gonna have more. We're making more.
Exactly.
We're gonna have more for other regions. They're gonna cost more too. By the way.
Yeah,
for sure.
It's just ridiculous.
We as we record every 2 weeks, we have more of the back and forth on Call of Duty, Sony, and Microsoft. The most recent thing, which I don't think is in the article I put in here, is that now I saw it's coming out like, even still, it's going to be a while before Call of Duty can even be on Game Pass because of whatever deal. So that just makes it seem more ridiculous to me of like, why are we still crying about this? Like, again, like it's just, they're not going to just pull it off that platform.
It was something where like it's like they have to make 3 more Call of Duty games, but technically,
I think so.
But Warzone counts as one of them.
Okay,
because it's a different thing. So that's technically 2 of them that are coming out now. So I think maybe that's why he's panicking. But yeah,
that could be.
But look, even if Call of Duty isn't on Game Pass, I would assume they can probably put all of the older ones on it.
Yeah,
just not new releases. But it's like.
Well, and here's the thing. Well, and here's the other thing, and I mean, not to spoil a news story, it's going to come in a little bit, but like, you just announced another pretty major game that is exclusive to PS5.
They do it all the time.
You can't get it on something else.
They do that.
This is something that clearly could be on everything.
Right.
Exactly. The Hogwarts content. Yeah.
Yeah. All for games that arguably, I mean, some of them are system sellers. Like that's Sony, like the Hogwarts thing for certain people, that will make them buy a new system, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And if you don't have one and you go into a store and they say, well, it's on both of these, but this one has more stuff. And the only reason you're really buying is for this game, you're going to buy that one. It's the same argument he's going against.
Yeah.
But you could still walk into a store and say, man, I just want Call of Duty. And they go, it's on both of these and it has the same amount of content on both of them.
Yeah.
Well, okay. I'm not going to necessarily pick one over the other. It's the thing is like, but they're both making stupid arguments now. Because like then Microsoft comes back and they're like, they try to fire back. Well, check out all these exclusive stuff. And they talk about like, whoa, they got that Wolverine game. It's like, and they're trying to make it sound like Wolverine comes out next year. No, it doesn't.
There's no way that game comes out next year. The other thing I thought on Microsoft's side that was kind of stupid is like they tried to downplay themselves. Like, well, we're the third place company, and like we don't really make a lot of money. No, we make a lot of money. Yeah,
we only make $1 for most of these computers.
Exactly. Where it's like I get the play, but it doesn't work.
And now, especially now that they're trying to push into like having their own mobile store.
Exactly.
Okay, I get it, but you've tried mobile shit before. Remember Windows phones and like Xbox? Yeah. Didn't really kick out.
No, I should have done that.
And I'm not gonna since I have an iPhone, I'm not gonna buy stuff on the Microsoft store. I'm just gonna buy it on the Apple store.
Exactly. Like, no, that's the thing. Like that's the phone I have.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. It just continues. We'll keep talking about it.
2 weeks, it'll be something else. Yeah.
There'll be something else, especially I think. But the next time we record, this version of Call of Duty will be out, so I'm sure there'll be more bullshit around.
Oh yeah,
of course.
We're gonna start seeing sales numbers
because this is also the release. It's not only the release of Modern Warfare 2 remake or whatever we're calling that game. It's also the release of Warzone 2.0.
Right.
So
which is the thing people want. Yeah,
it is. So And now we have our most interesting, I wouldn't say our most interesting, but like one of the crazier stories the last 2 weeks, because there's been more and more added to it, which is the whole situation with Bayonetta having a different voice actress.
Oh my God.
The original voice actress came out and said that she did not reprise the role because she was only offered X amount of money. And then the studio came out and said, well, that's not true.
So she claimed, no. So it worked a little differently. So she came out and said it was going to be $4,000 and
for everything.
For everything. And for the voice acting. And that's not a living wage and all this other kind of stuff. And everybody really initially sided with her and said, yeah, that kind of sucks. And and then as it went on, independent reporters, Jason Schreier from Bloomberg was one of them. Well, it turns out they actually offered her like $15,000. And it was for like 4 sessions of 3 to 4 hours of work at a time.
Yeah.
So you're telling me it's more like $1,000 an hour as opposed to what she said. Well, then she came back to that and said, well, I've already said what I'm going to say and blah, blah, blah. And the truth will live out. So like all of this is just,
it's a lot of mudslinging back.
The problem is I don't think I believe her anymore, just because it wasn't just him. It was somebody else. Like 2 independent people verified that they said they were going to pay her more money. And then apparently at one point she counteroffered and wanted like 6 figures to voice Bayonetta. Like, I don't
You're talking about voice acting, right?
Yeah, but the problem is like I think voice actors should be paid more, to be fair. Like, they really should be, because there are people that buy games because of voice actors.
Yeah.
Hal and I know this. Like, people who think Troy Baker is God. He's really not, but he's good.
He's not. He's
but 6 figures to voice a character
Bayonetta?
for Bayonetta? I don't. Where all of a sudden
the internet that hasn't had a new game for 6 years?
Yeah, almost didn't get one.
Exactly.
All of a sudden, the internet has decided that this franchise makes like hundreds and millions of dollars.
It doesn't.
It's Bayonetta.
No.
It's on the Switch.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, why are people overvaluing what this game is? I don't get it. But
exactly.
the worst part is the show she comes out with, they offered her a certain amount of money to do the role. She turned it down. She's acting like she was forced or out or fired or kicked out or whatever. She literally did not accept the amount that she claims they offered her. So they recast the role, and now she's telling everyone to boycott the entire game, because they didn't cast you as Bayonetta. What about all the people that make this game? You think they should suffer because you didn't accept an offer they said to you, which apparently now is almost 4 times what they actually said? Like, the whole thing stinks, and it just makes her look bad. Even if she is telling the truth, like, I don't even think she is anymore, man.
I don't think so either.
It seems maybe at one point there was like an offer of like, hey, it's $4,000, or maybe she misinterpreted it as it was $4,000 a session,
which is very likely for sure.
So it could be any number of things, but people were figuring out that, like, even if it was $4,000 and it was only 16 hours of work, that's still $250 an hour. It's also noted that like $4,000 for what she was doing is like double what the union requires.
Okay.
So like none of what she said kind of adds up at the end. And then Jennifer Hale has to come out, and because people are dogging on her, originally.
Yeah.
Now everybody's like, oh, never mind, kind of a thing.
It's like a week of like everybody was on her back, and now
it's
they're like, oh no, actually, sorry.
How is it her fault in any way? They came to her and said, will you do it for X amount of money? And she said yes. Is she required to tell you what that number is? No.
And she hasn't. She
hasn't, and she shouldn't. And then the company has to come out again today and be like, we fully support Jennifer Hale in our decisions of what's going on. But it's all pretty shitty. But I really feel like that original woman, like, she's not coming out of this great.
No, not at all. It's going to affect
future jobs.
Sure. Yeah. Like, I mean, honestly, like, if that thing was 100% true and you want to put that employer on blast, like, do it. But
do it.
I don't think it was 100% true.
It doesn't seem right.
It really doesn't seem like it. So.
Yeah. Would 2 other people verify it through other sources that you're wrong? I don't know.
It's not going to look good in the future, especially when one of those sources is Jason Schreier, and that guy never misses. So, he knows what he's doing. That's why he's at Bloomberg now.
Yeah, exactly. It's just ridiculous.
I threw this in here just because I thought it was important to note. I thought it was kind of weird, like a couple months ago when we reported that East 8 was getting a PS5 version, which is out, I think, in a couple weeks now. Because I thought it was weird, because I'm like, why would you do that when you just released a new East game? So now East 9 is also getting a PS5 version. I think it said the spring, so I would guess like February, March. It'll be a little bit, but again, I mean, if you never played 8, go play 8. That is my favorite RPG of the last generation.
It's really good. Yeah.
It's really, really good. Like, I'm probably gonna double dip on it.
So I probably will too. Yeah.
The little bit I played of 9, and at this point I might as well just wait till this PS5 version's out because I only played a couple hours. Is really good too, but it's a different type of story.
I think that was the point of those games.
That's the point of those games.
It's the same main character.
It's the adventures of the same main character, but it's completely different settings. So
8 is really cool. Like 8 is really good.
Amazing game.
Some of the best
recent music too.
Well, yeah, and I didn't own it. I actually borrowed it from the library. Remember? And
I remember.
Because you couldn't buy a PS4 copy; it was gone.
Well, I remember for a while it was out of print, and then it was going nuts, and like used price was like over $100 at a lot of places. Yeah,
so now I'll just buy a PS5 copy to own it and probably play it again.
So, why don't we get to we got two big, not only two like big news things around horror games this week, which is really cool. The most kicked around one for the last couple of years that finally got announced is they are remaking it. There was a lot to this. It's not just this specific game, but Konami had their first. When was the last time Konami has had an event of any kind?
When they started making pachinko machines.
I was gonna say like maybe because the last like big like get excited about Konami game I remember is Metal Gear Solid 5.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's 7 years ago.
That was a big deal. Yeah.
And they haven't they can talk about the pachinko machines, but that's been kind of it. Like, and they've made some weird moves in the last couple of years. Like there's the excellent Castlevania anime, but it's like, why are you making that if you're not doing anything else with the property? That kind of thing. But they had an event, which actually really felt like old school Konami, which was kind of cool. And announced a bunch of, not just one, but a bunch of Silent Hill stuff.
A lot of stuff.
Like, way more than I expected. The biggest thing here, obviously, is a full remake of Silent Hill 2. It's getting I would say the way it looks, it's getting the Resident Evil 2 remake treatment. That's what it is, basically.
That's what it looks like, yeah.
It looks like that, completely built from the ground up for PS5.
It's not exact, but it's close.
And that's the other thing that's important to note. It's not going to be identical to the original PS2 version. They're going to change some things from what I've read, like about puzzles, maybe a little bit of the different story beats, which sounds like something they're doing with another game that we're going to talk about in a little bit here as well. But they announced and that was the thing, I knew when they said, hey, we're doing a Silent Hill event, okay, it's finally going to happen. They're going to announce this thing. What I didn't expect was there's also, there's also a point and click adventure Silent Hill game for the people that made Observation, which is really cool and unusual. Like, you wouldn't expect an indie developer like that. I forget
Observation is a super cool game.
Really cool game.
Yeah.
Like, for them to make a Silent Hill point-and-click adventure, and for Konami, who, again, hasn't really done much in the last couple of years, to trust an indie developer with a franchise like that, an odd choice, but I like it. And then the other one is they did announce, a future sequel, Silent Hill. I'm assuming this is probably a code name. I don't think it's going to be called Silent Hill F. I think that's just the name of it right now, but that was the other one it's set, it's set in the past in Japan, from my understanding.
Yeah.
The trailer doesn't really show much, but it's written by a pretty prolific Japanese horror writer that I'm not familiar with, but people went nuts when they showed this person's name. So I was like, okay, apparently he's prolific. But yeah, it had the Silent Hill vibe. And then for me, other than Silent Hill 2 remake's really cool, probably for me the most exciting announcement is that they're making another Silent Hill movie called Return to Silent Hill. But they brought back the original director from the Silent Hill movie from 2006, which, in my opinion, up until Sonic, was the best video game movie.
That's a bold claim.
It's a bold statement, but it was really good. You go into again, think about it though. Go into Resident Evil. They're just kind of borrowing it.
Man.
Have you seen
Double Dragon was it, bro?
Have you seen the first Mortal Kombat movie?
Yeah. True. That's up there too.
Also, Matt, I will say, like, I love that movie. That movie sucks. Like, Double Dragon is a bad movie, but I loved it.
Fun to watch, but yeah,
it's got the chairman from Iron Chef America in it.
Dude, it's fantastic. I don't care what you say. I love that movie. Like,
I love it too. It's bad.
Homely, it's ugly.
Yeah.
But yeah, the whole presentation, like, it just felt kind of like old Konami. So that's led people to think, like, are they going to do something like this in Metal Gear Solid? But that's a little bit more of a sticky situation because of Kojima. But again, good stuff. The only other thing I'd say here is, we've talked about this on the podcast before. I think we talked about when we had Ryan on as a guest. Bloober Team is the people that are making Silent Hill 2 remake. Mm-hmm. There are people out there that, like, really fucking hate Bloober Team. I've seen a lot of hate thrown the way. My thing on that is, like, just wait to see what the game is like when it comes out. Because now, like, the trailer I saw, which, it's a 3-minute trailer, it looks really good.
Yeah.
Like, it looks like they're going to do it justice. And this isn't, like, again, the medium is something that those people made themselves. Konami is going to throw money at this because they want it to sell, like the Resident Evil 2 and 3 and coming soon and 4 remakes.
Well, they want this to do well so that they could remake Silent Hill 3 and 4.
Yeah.
And then eventually make a new one. But, like, people are concerned about Bloober and, like they can't write a story and all that kind of
stuff.
They're
not writing this story.
They have a blueprint. They have a blueprint to follow, dude. Like,
exactly. Like, they're not writing the story here. Like, they're just
making a game.
I mean, for me, like, I would have rather seen a remake of Silent Hill 1, but this is the one that's the most important to everybody. Mm-hmm. So I get why this is the one you remake. So, but incredibly exciting. There's no release date. It is, as I mentioned, a couple minutes ago, one of the other news articles we were talking about, this is a PS5 exclusive, but it sounds like it's only PS5 exclusive for a year. But again, I'll put that out there.
Final
Fantasy VII Remake was also supposed to only be exclusive for a year, and now that's just forever.
They don't talk about that anymore. Yeah,
they just stopped talking about it.
Yeah.
But really cool. Like, overall, really good presentations. I watched the entire thing, and it's really cool. At the end of the day, I'm just happy to see this franchise back. And it's not
crazy.
Just, are we talking about, like, what are we doing with Silent Hill? So that's my takeaway.
Again, maybe this is the key for them to finally get into. We make another Castlevania game, and we make another
for real. Yeah, exactly, for real. Like, and all they would have to do, I mean, obviously, like,
is it worth it for us to stop making pachinko machines?
Yeah. But, like, again, there have been so many other studios and stuff that have made Castlevania 2D like games in the last decade. But if they were to come back and say, we're making Symphony of the Night 2, for example, I think a lot of people would blow really fucking excited.
Yeah.
Me, myself included. So we'll see. I would say, if you want to see those other franchises return, maybe buy Silent Hill 2 Remake. So,
well, let's hope it's good first, and then if it is, then you got to buy it.
This was one I thought that was fun. Is it going to happen? I don't know. There's a lot of rumors swirling around Bungie bringing back their original franchise Marathon, which was their kind of, like, Doom-style franchise that they had before they shifted to Halo. And then you remember they were originally making Halo for Apple machines.
For Mac, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. So I think it would be really cool if that happened. Obviously, Sony now owns Bungie, so that would be a PlayStation exclusive thing, but it would be cool to see them do something on the side of Destiny.
I just don't know. I don't know if they have time to do that. Like, Destiny is that company's future for now on.
Yeah.
Like, they're kind of locked into that forever. I mean, could you get a small chunk of people off and do it? Sure, but
sure.
It's going to be tough when it's more about cranking out Destiny content and, like, whatever, expansions and stuff they're doing for Destiny. 3 is clearly in the works in some form. Like, they're never not making the next one.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. Like, it would have to be. I don't think it could be like a full game. It would have to be like a one-off, like, little extra thing, and maybe it's got Quake style multiplayer or something in it.
For sure.
Something like that.
I think it would be like one of those like it would be a. I mean, they'd probably do a physical release, but it'd be like a arcade style. I always think of the 360 arcade.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
It's like
it'd be something
like
smaller.
a digital store thing where like maybe limited run does a physical version.
Yeah, and it's just like a quick run through a story kind of a thing.
Yeah. Exactly. So, and then our final news story, we actually got an email about it. So which I'm not surprised. I was surprised we didn't get any emails about Silent Hill, but we did get an email about this. This comes in to us from Brian from Vienna, Virginia. He says, "Hi guys, was curious what you all think of the Resident Evil 4 remake trailers and news coming out of yesterday." So yesterday they had a big showcase as well. Are you into the changes they are making? Like, for example, how the dog is dead now, so no help from him during the first boss fight. Thanks. So yeah, and that leads into that. So they had another showcase for Resident Evil yesterday. They did talk about the other two things I'll highlight really quick before we talk about Resident Evil 4, because that's the big story here. They did put out a demo if you want to try the third-person version of Resident Evil Village. That's out now. You can try a demo of it. And then they brought back like Reverse from the dead, and it's not cell shaded anymore, and it's out next week. Yeah. So, and if you already own Village, you have that. So, like, maybe I'll look at that. I don't know. I never tried that multiplayer component of Resident Evil 3 remake.
I watched some of that, and it just seemed like it was kind of
like a missed opportunity.
Yeah.
But the big thing coming out of this, obviously, is Resident Evil 4 remake. I mean, regardless of what I say about it, it's going to be a game that sells incredibly well.
It's going to sell incredibly well.
They're doing slight changes to the story and stuff. And like it was highlighted in the email here, because there's a story trailer, and then there's like, I'd say like a 10-minute video of gameplay. And one of the things in that gameplay video that's highlighted is the dog, very famously in the original version of this game, that if you choose to save him out of a bear trap because he's stuck in a bear trap, he will help you in the first boss fight. Not like I'm spoiling it for anybody in a 15-year-old game here. He's just fucking dead in this version.
Yeah.
You just find his dead body. So it's like, okay, maybe this isn't going to be the Resident Evil 4 that you think it's going to be, which is potentially.
I think that's important.
I'm interested.
It's important though. Like it's important to note that it's a remake, not a remaster.
Exactly.
And 2 and 3 changed those games quite a bit.
They did, especially 3.
But I think that's what you want at this point. Resident Evil 4 has been released so many fucking times in its current like original version.
It has.
You can just it's time to make it different.
It is time to make it a little bit different. I mean, the things that I'm more interested in, and they didn't really highlight them in these trailers. And I think, again, and I've said this before, and I've very controversially said, like, Resident Evil 4 is not on my high tier list of Resident Evil games. It never has been. I think it did a lot of interesting things and definitely changed, like, especially if you look at it from a gameplay perspective. It obviously brought a new camera perspective that was brought into many other games, like Gears of War. Yeah. That's a very important part of it. But, like, there are things about that game, they like to look back on that game with rose-tinted glasses. They like to, especially, like, everybody remembers the intro of that game. Getting into the town, you got the chainsaw dude chasing you. Like, that's what everybody remembers.
Hey, man, that could have been the whole game.
What people don't remember is, 10 hours of carrying Ashley around.
Yeah, hiding her in boxes and running circles.
How about the end of that game where you are literally fighting people that have guns? Kind of like Resident Evil 5, where everybody hated that. But it was okay in Resident Evil 4. Like, that's where I started to have a problem with it. So
Resident Evil 4 devolves into some weird knife fight against a guy in an oil rig, and you're like, what the hell?
Exactly. Yeah, your buddy Krause.
How did we get here?
So, like, I'm interested to see, like, what are those changes? Like, how are the Ashley mechanics going to work in this new one? They don't show anything about that. They show the character here in this trailer.
She exists,
but they don't. She exists. I mean, she's a big part of the story. She has to. But I'm more curious about that because replaying through that game even a couple years ago, that's not a fun part of that game at all.
No, it's
what
not.
If she's dead
go
in this
stand
game?
in this corner while I deal with 800 of these dudes coming through this door. Oh fuck! This dude picked her up and brought her through a door, and she's dead now. Like,
or like the part where you gotta turn those cranks while I pick off these dudes from down here. But I can't
with the sniper rifle. She doesn't get picked up.
It's
just fucked up. So, and then obviously, like I said, in the end, it just evolves into what people hated about Resident Evil 5. So I'm curious to see those changes, and that's what excites me the most. Although I will say in the gameplay trailer they did show the mysterious stranger, and he sounds exactly the same.
Well, I mean,
they can't change that, right?
You cut him out, there's a riot.
There's a riot. So, I mean, visually, I mean, again, I've talked about it before on here too. Like the re-engine is probably the greatest thing Capcom's done in the last 10 years was take time off and make a new engine, because this game looks incredible visually. Like, it's the one thing I'll say, even watching this footage and stuff, even on my OLED TV, because I waited until they put up a 4K version of that footage. Like, it looks incredible. So, but yeah, that's the one thing I put out there. Like, I just think a lot of people look at that game with rose-tinted glasses, and I really hope they change some of that stuff, because if they don't, I think people are like, oh, remember when you had to carry this chick around for half the game?
But I think it makes it more fun when a remake changes parts of the game.
It does, and that's why I really enjoyed the 7 remake.
Yeah,
as we talked about before.
The 7 remake is, I know these characters, I generally know the story, but I want more of it, and like for them to expand on certain things and to change certain things. And obviously now going into part 2 and part 3 eventually, like that game has completely, like, it is not Final Fantasy 7 anymore. It is its own thing.
No, it's not.
Which is good. That's what I want. I didn't want to play the same game again.
Yeah, especially since I think that worked really well.
Had already just played it again a couple years ago.
Yeah, like, I have many times over.
Yeah, I've played 7 many times on many systems, and like with Resident Evil 4, I played it on GameCube. I played it on PS2. Yeah. I played it on multiple different things. Like you can play it on PS5 if you want.
They put it out as a digital release, I think, on PS3 and 360. They re-released the physical, which I have on Xbox One and PS4. Yeah. Those are playable, obviously, on the new systems. Right. So, like, you've been able to play that game forever. It's on Switch.
Yes. Yeah. Well,
you can play it portable. You can play Resident Evil 5 portably. Think about that. So,
I don't want to think about that.
The only other thing that I would say with like these Resident Evil things, and I didn't put this in here, but they did come out and say this after, is that they're currently not looking at remaking Code Veronica, which is sad for me because I think that's the last one they really should do, because like nobody's touched Code Veronica since it came out.
Do you think they would skip it and go to 5?
So that's the question, and that's what I've been going back with our mutual friend Ross here. Is like, do they do 5? Because 5's
a weird one to remake.
5's going to be really tricky to do in 2022, or for reasons I don't want to get into on the podcast, or do they go back and actually just remake 1? Even though there is a great remake of it, which is my favorite game of all time, do you remake that with the Resident Evil 2, 3, and 4 remake camera style? That's what I wonder. So, I don't know. It's a tough choice. Like, but you also have to remember at the same time, and the other potentially really exciting thing is when we look at Village, they've come out and said like this Winter's DLC, which is what it's called, is the end of that character's story. So what is Resident Evil 9?
Yeah.
Is it going to be another first person? Do you think they ditch that and go back to this style? Because I would have to say, like, obviously, these probably sell a little bit more than Village or 7. Wouldn't you think so? Because of the nostalgia effect.
I don't know, maybe a little bit, but I think 7. I think 7 sold a ton.
It did because it was a long time.
Well, it was
5 years.
But it was new. Yeah. Like it was everything about this.
It was a fresh idea for that franchise. So
getting your hand cut off in the first 30 minutes, like you know what I mean, like,
and then just that guy give me that bottle, put that on your hand. And
I think that's why 7 took off, is because that actually had like an interesting story and stuff. Like you were interested to see like how this family thing played out. So I think that's the most important part. Like 9, if 9's obviously going to be something new, it just needs to come up with something cool like that. I could see it being first or third. Obviously, they know people wanted third person mode because they're adding it to this one.
It's really strange to me that they are going back a year later because it's going to play like a completely different game.
All right, we remake 7, but put third person mode in it.
There you go. I mean, if this thing sells well, I could see them doing like a DLC thing for that game.
I think that's too far gone.
You think it's too far?
Yeah, I think part of me really wants 5 remade just because I would play that again easily.
I want to see. I want to see how they handle it. Yeah, like
what would it look like?
I don't know, because I still think today
it's not old enough to be remade, is it?
Maybe it's just me with rose tinted glasses on, but I still think that game looks really good. So it was kind of ahead of its time.
Does it? Yeah, and like it doesn't really need to be remade.
It's a great co-op.
Great co-op,
and it also has the best version of Mercenary.
I wouldn't say not a super great like Resident Evil game as a whole, because again, remember that tried something new. It's daytime now. Like, and it's all light
for
on
sure.
it.
People
but,
didn't
like,
care for that.
But the co-op in that game is incredible. Like, so it's fun.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
One of the best co-op games of that generation.
So yeah, who knows?
It's weird. Yeah, I'm just curious to see what they do next. Like after
nine is probably next. Whatever 9 is.
9 is next. Whatever they're doing. So, but that's gonna wrap up news. Now we're gonna get into the emails. Got a lot of GameStop emails this week, which I know Dan particularly.
That's what we do.
That's
what we do here.
So, which we got a couple that are from current employees. So obviously their locations are redacted. I don't want to give away locations. We don't want to get anybody in trouble.
Yeah, we're not doxing anybody here.
Exactly. So, our first email comes from Ed from Redacted. As I said, it says, "Hi guys, I wanted to email in as I've been listening for a while now, and I was looking to get this off my chest. I am a current SL. Currently, our DL has a win set for getting 100 Pokemon pre-orders a week. If you are unaware, the latest lingo is calling goals or expectation wins. So I'm not surprised. They like to change that word.
I knew that, but I want to say I've heard that in the past too, because they always try to make it sound like
they're probably just pushing it harder.
A positive spin on it. We're like, yeah, you're winning at doing this, and okay.
Somebody really liked Charlie Sheen at the time.
Yeah, well.
I'm located in a dead shopping center that just has myself, a GNC, an Army recruiting office, and a laundromat. Our big anchor Kmart left years ago.
Man, if your big anchor, hang on, real sec. If your big anchor was Kmart,
that's years ago.
Crap.
Exactly.
Like, are you emailing us from 1997?
Exactly.
Dude, that's how dead. Like, that's how I know your thing is dead. If you're
as I was reading this email, I'm like, man, it sounded like our thing too. If you think about
GNC,
it,
yeah, right there.
Our big thing, we had a Big Lots, and then that left.
Yeah, and Big Lots is basically Kmart.
But GNC, GNC will be there until after the apocalypse. They'll still be like, "Do you want to open a GNC?
You need some protein powder?" Yeah,
exactly. I'm lucky to get 20 reserves a week total, so I find this goal to be unbelievable. Yet he is mandating it for all of his stores. Have you guys ever been set up for an unrealistic or unattainable goal from your DL? If so, how did you all handle it? Thanks. So this went out. Dan dealt more with the DL than I did. So the only thing that I'll say, and then I'll turn it to you, is I just remember his unrealistic expectations the first year I was there with the iPad and iDevices.
Mm-hmm.
Just that was like, you need to talk to every single person that comes in here about iDevices, and then the first fucking person that walks in while he's there is somebody I certainly know has no care in the world about it. But I had to still skirt it. So
just like this thing, like reading this, like Ed's DL, like, you know, mandating this is like it's just another person who's out of touch, who has no clue, or he does and he doesn't care. Of course, which a lot of times they're the same person. But like 100 Pokemon reserves a week.
See, I don't think we even got 100 in like.
There were sometimes no, and especially these days, no way.
Yeah,
no way. Like. It was hard enough when we left, when I left 5 years ago to get like 100 a week for one game. Are you crazy? Like, does he see 100 people in his store a week that are that Switch focused? When he has
if you're in a dead shopping center, does he have 100 people in the store in a week? Like that'd be my question. At best,
he's maybe getting some foot traffic from the laundromat, and even then, it's like how many people use laundromats anymore?
How many of that is just kids?
It's just 100 a week is insane.
It's ridiculous.
Unrealistic goals, like we would get pre-order goals like that where they're always like, get 3 Maddens a shift, but it would be like the day Madden was announced. It's like nobody cares, dude. Like, no one cares.
Exactly.
We're gonna be lucky to get 30 Madden total in 3 months.
Yeah.
Or like Kyle said, when we first started carrying like iDevices. Company made it this huge deal. We had a case up in the front, locking case. We had these stupid boxes we had to fold, like put things in and sticker things properly, set this whole thing up. And then it was expected. It's like, you got to sell 1 or 2 a day. And we're like, what are you talking? 1 or 2 a day? What are you talking about? We just started. Nobody knows we have these. And it's like, I don't know who you're talking to, but nobody's really looking for iPod Nanos anymore, man. Like,
no, it was done like at the end of that era.
All right, and they started to get
use Spotify on your phone.
Right. Well, yeah, and not only that, but they started to get crazy about it, where it's like set up a table with saying we have iPods and put up fake boxes. Can't put real ones out there. And then it would get desperate where it's like, carry one around with you and try to sell the one you're carrying.
Well, I remember specifically there was a couple weeks towards the holiday where they were like, here, we allocated you 4 hours on a Saturday, have someone come in and stand next to the case to only talk to people that come in about an item.
Waste someone's time to stand by that case and just sell those. And it was just insane. Like, the goals for that were always wild. And then, like, when it comes down to, like, how did I deal with it? Like, I think it's been, if you've listened to this podcast for a while, I think it's been pretty clear what my SL management style was. It's like, I could give a rat's ass what the district leader and the regional and like all those goals and stuff they sell. That is not what I'm here for. It's not what you're here. What you are here to do is to help the customer buy what they would like to buy and then sell add-ons that equate to that. If a guy walks in wanting to buy an Xbox, you don't have to, please do not spend 15 minutes trying to sell him an iPad. He came in here for an Xbox.
Exactly.
And then you know what you do? You sell him an Xbox and you get him to buy like 3 games and a controller and a charging kit. That's a quote unquote win for me.
Yeah,
I could give a damn if this guy bought a used, scratched, dented iPhone 3GS that we probably sold for $180 for some stupid reason, as opposed to buying the stuff he wanted when he came in. Yes, I understand. I understand to a point, like selling, upselling and all that kind of stuff. And like, that's what I expect you to do with things that make sense to it. But not to throw in like, hey, remember we would keep like a Nano or something on the counter next to the pin.
I want to say
like a Nano or a Shuffle or what, something that would be like $35, $40.
I want to say it was a Shuffle because again, there was always the
pick whatever the cheapest.
Walk away with it.
Well, I mean, eventually people started stealing keys to that thing and ripping them off. Remember, like your mother started.
Yeah.
That case sucked, by the way. It was heavy and just awful.
It sucked.
But and then it would be like, oh yeah, do you want to buy a Shuffle, an iPod Shuffle too? And then they'd be like, it's 2013. Why do I want an iPod Shuffle?
Exactly. Like
or whatever year it was, 2015, whatever. Why do I want an iPod Shuffle? Like, I have a phone in my pocket that can play music at any time.
Mm-hmm. Anytime.
Like, whatever I want it to play music, it can play music. Every so often, but the thing is, like, every so often people would come in to look at the stuff, and if they want to do it and you sell it, great. But I'm not forcing it. It was the same thing. You want to talk about unrealistic goals? Cricket.
Okay,
Cricket.
I was going to say
one activation a week or 2 a week or whatever.
I feel like that was a 6-month thing.
It was about a year. It was for as long as we had that rep dude. Because remember, he would come in and check up on us. Like, how many crickets you got this week? 0. You can leave.
Yeah.
What are you guys?
This is a GameStop.
What are you guys doing to sell cricket in your store? Absolutely nothing. You can leave.
Yeah.
I have put the cricket stuff up in the 3-foot cricket section. Does that count? You can leave. Like, we're not here to sell cricket, dude. I don't care.
It was dumb.
If we get, your store, but your store gets credit for the activation. I don't see that number anywhere here. Where is that number?
Exactly.
Can you tell me how much it is?
I want to say that
never tell you.
District manager even couldn't show you that on.
They couldn't tell you. They'd lie to you. You got 100%. No, you get 100. No, you get 50%. No, you get. If they pay their bill, you get
the number
40%.
would change all the time.
Well, it's like, how do I get the money if the money's going to cricket? Because we're just selling it for cricket. So how does my store get the money? So it was just bullshit. Like, cricket would be, I want to say it was like 2 activations a week. Maybe more.
It was a number where it was unrealistic.
It was just something where we laughed at it. You read them and you laugh, and then how do you deal with it? Yeah, man, whenever they ask, you lie. Like, that's how you keep your job. You lie. Yeah, man, we asked everybody. I don't know what to tell you. Kyle stood by that case for 6 hours, and he played Plants vs. Zombies on an iPad in front of people. I don't know what to tell you. Like, it's just ridiculous. Exactly. Like, it's just, what a waste, absolute waste of time. I feel horrible for Ed for getting 100 Pokemon pre-orders.
100 Pokemon pre-orders.
My God, if our store was still open, we could maybe get 40 total. Right?
Yeah, I'd say that's inaccurate.
40 total, maybe 20 each, maybe a little bit more. Pokemon's a little bit.
Even towards the end, though, like, we would still get, I'd say, all of the games that we would get reserves on.
Nintendo.
That would always still be one of the big, anything Nintendo, but especially Pokemon, but we ain't getting no 100 a week.
No, it wouldn't be anywhere near like the hard gold and soul silver days, which
no.
Did you work there when that happened, or were you at Target or
No,
something? Oh man,
hard gold and soul silver, wasn't that like 2010?
Yeah, that was before. I was at 2649. I remember that day being a shit show. We probably had 200 plus for each. And the reason that was a problem is that each one of them came with a stupid fucking figure, and we got maybe 60 of each of those.
Yeah.
And then you had to tell people like, "Hey man, those were first come first serve." Well, I reserved it first. I don't know, man. I don't know.
There's no way.
Well, eventually, remember when it did get to a point where we had 20 pre-order bonus things and we had 40 reserves or something, we'd print the list out and like draw a line and be like, these people get it, these people don't,
because they reserved it.
Sorry, yeah,
right.
Like, that's how it works now. But that back in the hard gold and silver days, no, it did not. I remember specifically. This is a quick story. One woman reserved, I think, one of each game because a lot of people do.
Okay.
And then, but she wanted to buy one more of each game because whatever. So she wanted 4, and then she's like, "Well, I should get 4 figures." And we're like, "No. I reserved it. No, absolutely not. No, you can have 1 for each of the ones you reserved. I cannot give you any more. This is ridiculous." I remember because my boss at the time was my friend Kenny. You met Kenny, big black guy, doesn't really take shit from people.
No, he does not.
Man, he showed that lady the door pretty quick. Yeah. He's like, you can either get 2 or 0, and you can leave. And so, of course, she took her 2 and left and, grumbled the whole way out the door. But we were just laughing. My job that day was literally like there were 2 people on registers, and they'd be like I was just the guy handing the games to like, all right, 1 gold for you, 1 silver for you, just to try to speed shit up because we had a line going. You remember how that store was? It was kind of like a little bit smaller than ours. A little bit smaller, but it went all the way to the back of the thing to the front door.
It did.
Just like people for fucking Pokemon. But these days, that's not what it is. Maybe if they came with figures, you could probably get 100. But
the last game I remember being a ridiculous day was GTA 5. Oh yeah, like original 360. Launch.
And to be fair, I think 6 would be. There'd be
some lines.
But again, if GameStop's still around by then, 6 would be.
It's different now because people just get that.
Well, yeah, because I can preload it. I preloaded it and played at 12. Yeah,
and you better believe that game specifically would be a huge install.
Oh yeah,
so you might want to preload that.
Oh, 120 gigs a minute.
Another one here. Robert from Redacted, so another Redacted current GameStop employee says, "Hi guys, love the podcast. I wanted to reach out and see if you all have read the Kotaku article that was posted this past week about GameStop stores slowly becoming a toy store. Is it just me, or are they out of touch? I've been with GameStop since 2011, and this has been a slow change that's only grown rapidly in the most recent years. But this process has been going on for the last 7 to 8 years. Perhaps it seems more aggressive now than in years past, but I get the feeling no one at Kotaku has been in a GameStop for a decade, and when one of them went in and said, 'Wow, this is a change,' then wrote the article. What do you all think?" I also think that's probably exactly what happened.
Yeah.
One of them was probably forced to go into a GameStop because Kotaku loves to hate GameStop. It's pretty obvious that they love to hate them.
If it's a slow news day, they just, what they do? Like slow news day, they just go to the GameStop Reddit and pick a complaint story
and pick something
and write a fucking article about it. That's what they do.
That's not a joke.
And then their research is, well, I called 3 stores in the area, and this is what. Yeah, man.
I just said I work for Kotaku, and they talk to me. That's all they would have.
Because I think they're important because they're going to get on Kotaku's website.
Exactly.
Ooh.
But I agree with this guy. Like that change has been going on for a while.
It started.
We started seeing that change in like 2015, maybe I want to say. We started getting the boxes of just stuff that's not video games.
Well, remember it started. We got that little tower thing in the middle. Remember? Mm-hmm. So it was like a 4-sided tower with like a glass top. And that was, I remember, because that's when we started carrying Funkos, and it was one side of that tower. And that was it. And, I remember the first Funkos we ever got were Star Trek: The Next Generation Funko Pops.
Jesus.
And then it became like statues was the first major.
When we got that thing.
Stuff. And the thing is like when that started, when all this started, like, you know what, man? Pops are probably something we should carry. Statues are probably video game related statues are probably something we should carry. And then when like Pokemon cards started to show up, You know what, man? Pokemon cards are something we should definitely carry. There are definitely things that fall into that lane that we should have always carried. Like I never understood why we didn't. I think another thing you and I talked about when we worked there, but I understand why we never did, would be like Lego is probably something we should have always carried. Like make it, yes, it is a video game store. Make it
a
like
very small part, but
but make it a game store or like
For sure.
But then they started losing their fucking minds. If it had if it had the word Star Wars written on it, they bought it to sell. If it, you know what I mean, like it was everything. Pokemon plushies, fine. We probably should carry those. And to be fair, we sold a shitload of those. If it had the word Pokemon on it, we sold it. It didn't matter because yes, that is the market. But Star Wars is not a huge crossover market. Not. I don't like Star Wars, and I
know that
collect video games, but like Pokemon stuff, I can understand it. It was a slow burn because then it started to become, you had 3 feet of collectibles, and then it was 6 feet of collectibles, and then it was 12 feet of collectibles, and then it was we hired the chick from Walmart who buys the shit at Walmart. And you're like,
oh that's right,
like,
I kind of forgot. That lady went nuts.
Yeah, they introduced her at conference one year, and they're like, we're gonna fix all this stuff because we know you guys don't like it. And then she went nuts and bought a ton of stuff, and that all bombed. Like just everything went crazy. And the problem, there was no like pricing structure for anything.
No,
we didn't really, like, we were a bigger store. We didn't have room for all this stuff. We couldn't figure out how other stores did it.
I just remember getting boxes of stuff, and it's literally like just shit thrown in boxes, like no rhyme or reason.
Remember when we got like the $180 lightsabers? And we're like, what is happening? Like, why am I carrying $180 lights? I could probably sell.
I don't remember selling any of those either.
We did at a certain point, but at one point they were behind the counter, but then they ended up getting relegated to like the back wall above like the speaker. Remember?
They did, yeah.
Yeah, just like we had to find places to bury this stuff. And then, we've talked about it before, but at one point our store had Leapster products. And I could not figure this out.
That was the bane of your existence for a while.
Why am I getting Leapster? No one else carries Leapster. It's because there was a Toys R Us like half a mile from us. Just everything about it was crazy because it was just every day something new would show up. But you go into a GameStop store now, or you look at the Reddit now and see like the stuff they're getting, and it's just someone has lost their minds. Like things that are on, you get something in a shipment that's something GameStop's never carried before, but it's already marked at clearance, but it's $108. What
a clearance deal. Yeah.
Well, clearance became the biggest problem because it was all of a sudden they realized, well, none of this shit sells. We should just mark all of it clearance. And they gave you this stupid tower to try to jam it all in. And
now it's like at least the one by me, it's like a bin that just has a bunch of shit.
But then like clearance stuff, you want to know a big GameStop secret? Sometimes when something would go clearance, it would go up in price.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, we'd have to make sure. We'd have to make sure we took the old tags off. But they're weird half toy stores now, and they're too much into figures. They're too much into stocking stuff for toys like that you would get at like Five Below or like a Spencer's or just weird little shit that they don't need to carry. There is plenty of stuff that is adjacent to what you're trying to do, but you gotta stop, especially just sending stuff that's already pre-clearanced. What?
What's the point?
I just don't get it. Like, it's basically here. You get rid of this because we can't on the website. But it's a sad way to go, and like it just seems to be getting worse.
It seems to be getting worse. Like the last couple weeks ago when I was in the GameStop over here pre-ordering that Fire Emblem, like it's just you look around that store, it's like these sections of games are getting smaller and smaller and smaller, and then the rest is just filled to the brim with like stuffed animals, puzzles, cereal bowls,
giant stuff,
any random like culture thing you can think of, like pop culture,
it's got
like
Marvel
whatever.
Or DC written on it. They buy it.
They will buy it.
Yeah, and like you think it's bad now? It's only October 21st, man.
I know.
Imagine the shipments over the next month. Oof.
What's Black Friday? Like, what kind of crap are you going to pull for that?
I don't know, man.
Exactly. All right, another GameStop email. This one comes to us from Barry from Westchester, Pennsylvania. It kind of piggybacks off the last one. Hi, all. I've been listening for quite some time now. Former GameStop manager here. Constantly, I see articles and insight that this is the year GameStop will end, yet it never does. What do you all think is the actual timeline of the rest of GameStop? This would be before it inevitably implodes. Thanks. So what do you think realistically? When do you think it actually is going to
end? I don't know, man. We've talked about it for so many years. Because every year
die.
there's some other article where it's like, can GameStop last? And then something stupid happens where the stock,
I thought the pandemic was going to kill
the GameStop. Pandemic.
I really did.
Yeah, but the stock thing saved it. If that stock thing hadn't happened, it would be in a much different place right now. Because
I think so.
I honestly believe part of Chewy.com's plan was to like tank it in such a way where he made bank and then he bails, and then from that point, from that point, it would have been gone.
Yeah.
But like that saves it. And the last time when we were both working there, there was things where it's like, man, nothing seems right. They haven't turned a profit in years. But then the PS4 and the Xbox One come out and everything changes because most people get their systems from GameStop.
Yeah,
or at least at the time. At the time they did.
Or definitely a brick and mortar store. Like I would say that was even the same for these most recent systems.
Right.
Most people went out to do it during the pandemic.
Who gets the most PS5s? It's probably GameStop because of this bundle thing they pull, and they have a good relationship with these vendors. Like,
they do.
Even though Sony doesn't have like a vendor partner program anymore, and Microsoft really never did, and Nintendo only kind of does, they still have a good relationship with GameStop because they understand what that place means physically to them. Because they're not going to sell the systems themselves because they don't care. Sony kind of does, but it's the timeline thing. It just seems to get harder and harder to guess every time. Like,
it does.
2020 seemed like it could have been it with we're essential. We sell batteries, and then they had to close and pivot to deliveries and store pickups and the warehouse problems. And then the Chewy.com guy came over, and then another CEO quit. Like the whole thing's a revolving. I don't even know who works there anymore up at the top, man. Like it just keeps revolving.
I don't either. It keeps changing.
I think at this point, my guess is you won't see it coming. I think you remember.
I think so too.
You remember when Toys R Us closed, and you knew Toys R Us was kind of in a bad spot because, like, realistically, do people really go to Toys R Us anymore? And really, not much. And then all of a sudden, it was like, hey, by the end of the year, every Toys R Us is going to be closed, and you're like, well, shit, okay, weird. And then all of a sudden, they were all just gone, like they just disappeared. My guess is it would be something similar to that. When this fiscal year ends, in March, and they close, even more stores because they're not opening stores. Like, let's be real, they're not opening. Maybe one here and there just because something moved or something changed around or something. Sure. But they're not going to mass open more GameStops unless they want to fill them full of clearance garbage. But everything else they try fails. Like, remember the ThinkGeek stuff? We're gonna have ThinkGeek stores. We were supposed to get one. CloStar disappeared. Yeah. And then they got rid of it. And then the Tulsa stores or the retro stores or the come hang out in game stores.
I was gonna say, remember the idea of like, we're gonna have this like community vibe in the middle of the store.
We're gonna have tables in the back room and all this shit, and like we're gonna redo some stores. Idea. Didn't work. Well, that one realistically, COVID killed that off.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think realistically, they're probably trying to go that route for the most part, but COVID shut that off.
Killed it. Yeah.
And let's be honest, whoever's idea was probably doesn't work there anymore.
No, for sure.
So it's tough to say. Like, I don't think you could put a time on it definitively and be like, you know what, man, it's got 2 years left and it's over.
I think it's going to be one of those things where you wake up one morning and it's just going to be an article like, the CEO just pulled the
GameStop files for bankruptcy, consolidating stores. Because remember, a couple of years ago they tried to sell themselves, nobody bought it, but then the stock thing saved it.
Stock thing saved it.
But then the stock thing is over now. It's just crashed into the basement again. So you'll wake up one day and read a story about how GameStop expects to close 50% of its stores to restructure in the next 2 months. I think when GameStop goes away, it goes away because again, this shootout guy's in charge, and he'll burn it to the ground on his way out, just for the hell of it, because it's trash to him. He doesn't care. You know what? There'll be one location left, Matt. There'll be one location left, Matt. It'll be on his yacht. It'll be like remember the Richie Rich movie where he had a McDonald's inside his house? It'll be like that. It'll be like that.
It'll be on his yacht.
Yeah.
There you go. Our next GameStop email comes from Chad from another redacted. And I'm not surprised we got an email about this because I literally saw this get announced and then I was like,
we talked about it the day it happened.
Yeah, the day it happened. Hey guys, I just wanted to reach out regarding the fall 2022 holiday hours that just came out. I have to say, while it's nice to see the full Thanksgiving Day the stores are closed again, it's only short-sighted by the fact that most of the competition is also closed this year. Most of those that drink the Kool-Aid at GameStop will see this as a win, but all of us with common sense know that it's not. It's also a distraction to the real power move here, staying open until 9 p.m. on Christmas Eve.
Insane.
Why?
Insane.
Why would we do this? For me, my store always does around 4 p.m. each year. It dies down. I think he meant to say it dies down.
I think
so now GameStop
maybe his store lasts until about 4 p.m. Yeah,
about 4 p.m. GameStop wants us to suffer and not be with families on this holiday anymore. Look, I've been here 10 years, and I find this change worse than having to work a few hours on Thanksgiving. Thanks for listening to my rant. What do you all think? I'm not surprised.
No.
And again, this is a total GameStop move where they would do this like, oh, hey guys, we're giving you Thanksgiving back.
We ran the analytics and we realized, you know what, you're right, guys, and we're going to give that day back to you because we believe in you guys and spending that day with your family. Now, that being said, you're open until 9 on Christmas Eve.
Which would suck for me because that's the night we do everything in my family.
Here's a weirder aspect of that is like there are a lot of families that do Christmas on Christmas Eve.
Like, that's how it's been for me since I was little.
I don't do that, but you do, and like I know other people.
There was a reason why when I was.
But I know other people do, like or people who have. We won't get into it. We have 2 different families, and they got to do one night, and one the other day. So
it makes sense.
It makes sense. Thanksgiving, we've talked about it in the past, where I don't think necessarily being open on Thanksgiving is the problem. The problem was they wanted you to be open like Thanksgiving all the way through to the end of Black Friday, like you never close.
Exactly.
Like that's dumb. If you want to have Thanksgiving doorbusters from like 9 to 12, and then you close and you reopen at 6, fine, whatever.
Most people are not eating at 9 o'clock.
I don't know about you, but Thanksgiving dinner for me is at like 2, and I'm checked out at like 5, and I just want it to be over.
Ours is always at noon, and then it's just whatever the rest of the day.
Yeah, exactly. You know what I mean? So. But the problem was when they wanted it to be like you're open midnight on Thanksgiving to 10 p.m. Friday. Like that's too long. There was a dead period in between of like 6 hours where nobody came. So giving you Thanksgiving back, like, and again, he makes a great point where, it's because nobody else is open on Thanksgiving, man.
That's the only reason they ran the numbers.
But here's the other thing too. It's like maybe Black Friday meant more. And Thanksgiving meant more 5 years ago. But the pandemic changed everything.
It changed that.
It changed. Everybody can do everything online now. Right? I can buy anything.
I've done Amazon every year. Like
I can buy anything online I want right now and have it to my house probably tomorrow.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So do we really need to be open on Thanksgiving to have Thanksgiving deals? Not really, because you ship from stores. The orders just come in and you ship it out from there. Big deal. So it's they used to pull that shit with us all the time. Where it's I remember when they first made us be open on Thanksgiving and they tried to blame it on employees. Remember, they were like a lot of you have asked us to be open on Thanksgiving, and we all said no one has done that. Not one person
I remember
has
that.
asked
the CEO at the time
to be open one of the 2 days we're closed a year.
Exactly.
No one has asked you for that. And now being open till 9 on Christmas Eve, I want to say some years it was like 7 for us.
I want to say 1 or 2 years, but usually it was 6.
Remember, though, it was tiered because it kind of depended on where you were. If you were in a mall, obviously it was less. If you were in a certain kind of strip store, if you had a certain type of volume, it was like 6. I think for us it was like 7. Ironically, remember Christmas Eve was the last day that store was open. They wanted us to be open on the 26th, and we told them you're fucking crazy. Like,
that would be stupid.
All we're gonna do is
take returns that you're gonna ship.
Yeah, it returns to tab what? We've shipped everything out.
Yeah,
like I don't know. This is stupid. So we told them Christmas Eve is it, and they were like, "Oh, okay, I guess so." And then I think we worked until the end of the year to get the rest of the shit out of this store.
We did.
Well, you weren't there. You bailed.
Oh yeah, no, I was out of there.
No,
you're right.
But yeah, this is like 9 o'clock. I can't imagine who is gonna come in from 7 to 9 p.m. on Christmas Eve to buy something. No. Like there's always Christmas Eve. I get being open on Christmas Eve. I really do. Like 12 to 6.
Oh, during
fine.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
It was busy.
I also say this
the last minute people.
Yeah, but I also say this as someone who worked at Game Crazy where we were never closed. Like we were open on Christmas Day. But even then, it was like 12 to 6, and I had a Jewish guy who worked for me, and he was like, "Whatever,
didn't care."
Yeah. And he got paid, 2.5 times pay to work that day that he didn't.
Exactly.
But again, it was always a dead day because it was more like return. Like 25 and 26 is returns, man. Like it's, oops, I got my kid the wrong thing or whatever, and blah blah blah. God, 9 p.m. though. I can't. If they would have come at me and said, especially depending on like if it was our store in our dead thing, you want me to be open? You want me to be open by myself in a dead parking lot with almost no lighting
on Christmas Eve?
On Christmas Eve until 9 p.m. Come on, that's offensive. I'd rather work Thanksgiving.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. I was going to say, do you remember there was that brief, like, it could have been like a quarter of the year, one year where they realigned our hours and we would close at 8?
Yeah, that was
a godsend.
That was a godsend.
That was a great, 4 or 5 months.
Yeah, it was like we're gonna experiment, and then because they used to put out those reports that would be like from 1 to 2 you did this, and 2 to 3 you did this, and it was like from 8 to 9.
That last hour was always dead.
You did nothing. Or you'd have like one sale at the end of the night. So yeah, we were open till 8 for a while. That was incredible.
It was great.
Well, because you know what else? It also freed up now.
It allowed for somebody to come in an hour earlier, so you had more coverage in the afternoon. Yeah.
It was
exactly.
And then of course changed it back, or Sundays were 11 to 6, and then I think for a little while they tried to make them longer. Didn't they do that?
They tried to make them longer, but then I also want to say during that period, it changed from 11 to 6 to noon to 6 or something.
Yeah, there was also another part where it got shorter too. Yeah, it was weird.
And it was great.
They would fuck with them every so often, but a game store
at 8 o'clock was amazing.
I'll tell you, as someone who ran a game store and worked at a game store for 15 years, they do not need to be open past 7. If you can't get here by 7, you don't need it today. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
Exactly. Come back tomorrow. 10 to 7. We should have been open 10 to 7 every day.
Exactly.
Even Sundays, fine. 10 to 6. But, if you can't get here by 7, you don't need it.
Yeah. Next email we got comes from Jamie from Waterloo, Iowa. He says, "Hi, guys. I was curious with Kyle being a huge fan of horror games. What his thoughts are on the Silent Hill news, especially that the team is making a remake of Silent Hill." I kind of went through it earlier. I don't have a hatred of
you liked the medium.
Right? I really like the medium. Yeah. I really like the medium. I understand the criticisms of that game. I understand there's a specific trope that is used at the end of the game. I'm not going to get into it, but I understand why some people don't like that trope being used in the video game. That being said, as we kind of discussed, Liberty is not writing this. They're just remaking it. So they have nothing to do with the story. They're going to change certain things about puzzles and maybe where things are placed, but they're not going to revamp this entire game story. So I think that's a perfect project for a team like that. Mm-hmm. That maybe people out there have problems with how they told stories in the past, because again, that's not part of this project. So, but for me, I harbor no hatred towards that team at all. I think they did a really good job with the medium, and that game really felt like a kind of a new Silent Hill, just not called Silent Hill when it came out to me. So it makes sense you would go after that and go, hey, these could probably do a good job with Silent Hill. So,
right.
Final 2 emails we got. We have Brandon from Salt Lake City, Utah, says, "Hey dudes, what is up with games going back to 30 frames a second? Gotham Knights, Plague Tale, and even God of War now was announced. If you want true 4K, it's only 30 frames. Are developers getting lazy, or are we hitting what these systems can handle?" The God of War, I'm going to separate that one from this question because that does have a 60 frame mode, but there's an interesting point to it. I'll mention it in a minute. Yeah, I'll mention something else that's weird about that game, but I don't think we're going back to 30 frames. I just think, unfortunately, we hit a week where 2 games happen to come out that Gotham Knights seems like it's a disaster. I mean, you and I have talked about it off of the podcast, off the record of like, this game for me went from like, hey, we'll pick it up Black Friday. Like, I think I'm going to pull an Outriders and wait a year and just let it update. Maybe they'll put a performance mode in. Because from my understanding for that game, they forced ray tracing. So that's why there is no 60 frame performance mode.
It's not even,
you turn that off
it's
and
not
lower
even
the resolution.
Locked at 30. It can go sub 30.
No. Yeah, that's what I've been reading. So I've seen some performance reviews, and I'm just like, I don't think I need to play that right now. It just doesn't seem like it's ready for prime time.
The other thing I think is key about Gotham Knights, and I think it's true of Plague Tale, like these both had, PS4 versions at some point. Like
they did.
So this stuff is being held back. Like we've
for sure.
We haven't reached a point of current systems getting too much, or
we haven't really hit that point where it's like, okay, games are only coming out on these current systems. That's the other issue.
Yeah, so like Gotham Knights is a perfect example because
it is
that hurt a lot.
That one's weird to me too because it's like that game was developed for PS4 and Xbox One. It started its development at that point, and then they announced, well, we want to make it better, so we're dropping those platforms for just the new ones.
No,
but then to have it come out,
it just means that those versions were worse than these.
They had to have been bad. I'm almost wondering if it was like a Cyberpunk situation. Like, this probably really shouldn't have come out bad.
Right. Cyberpunk is a good example of something like that too, where they should have just said forget it and made it next gen stuff, and now they finally are, DLC period later. But yeah, I don't think it's necessarily like people being lazy either. I think certain things like Gotham Knights hit a wall at a point where we have to go forward from here, and that's it. And then the publisher comes in and says, "You guys have to get this game out. Like, we can't."
Oh, I guarantee you that publisher pushed on. Like, we need to get that out this
Plague Tale. The other thing about Plague Tale is like that's more of like an indie game, not necessarily like Gotham Knights AAA kind of a thing. But
the thing I'll mention about God of War real quick, and then move on to our final question. So God of War, they put out all its information today. It has 4 different modes. So one of them is 120 frame mode, which and another one is a 4K but at 40 frames, which what does that matter?
I don't know.
Both of those require you to have an HDMI 2.1 port. So like, for example, the OLED TV I have has that. So like, if I'm going to do that, like, I'll probably look at the 120 frame mode, but like that resolution has to be really bad for that to work.
Yeah. I don't need
that. Absolutely. I don't need that either. So I'll probably just play it at 60, but it's important to know, like, that game does at least have a performance mode option. Yeah. These other two do not now.
No.
So, like, at all. Plague Tale's a little odd because they did put out a Series X and PS5 version of that game, and it does run to 60. So, the original game. So, it's weird, but I don't know. I put a video out on my channel about it. Actually, kind of blew up a couple days ago. My thing is just, I don't want to see it become a trend, but I really don't think it's going to.
No, I think eventually we'll stabilize at 4K 60 once we don't have to make last gen ports of stuff anymore.
For sure.
Which, whole fingers crossed, is only one more year of this stuff. I don't think, because we're not there yet, but we're getting there.
I have to imagine end of 2023 is the end of supporting these older systems
for newer,
that will
like,
officially be a decade old.
Yeah.
So, our final question, also about Gotham Knights, comes to us from Richard from Boise, Idaho. He says, "Hi guys, quick question: is Gotham Knights just the Avengers game all over again?" Thanks. It seems like it.
I don't know. Could Avengers be better?
I haven't played it.
Could Avengers be better? Maybe.
I think Avengers today is better. Is Avengers when it came out better? That's a different conversation.
As someone who's platinum that game, no.
I don't know, because they seem like a similar concept.
A little bit. I was reading more about it today with like the loot and like the skill ups and like everything. Like the game just seems like a mess. Like,
it does.
They didn't understand what to do, and they ran out of it got to be a point where like they said that the story is predictable, which most Batman games are, sad to say, for obvious reasons. But I don't know. Avengers was an okay game, hurt by the fact that the MCU existed.
For sure.
It was not an MCU game, so who cares? And then the story in that game is pretty decent, and like following Kamala is good, but like just everything they did after the fact didn't help the game.
It didn't.
So it just kind of became a weird Avengers exists kind of a thing.
I think they also had like a bigger plan with that Avengers game, and then obviously it didn't do as well as they wanted it to.
Oh, when it tanked, I think they bailed. Like, then they started releasing extra characters, and the only one that's any different is Spider-Man, because then it was like She-Hulk. Well, that's another Hulk, and then there's Lady Thor. That's just Thor. So
it's just exactly.
It's a weird game. Like
it's just a reskin, basically.
We'll play Gotham Knights at some point. Just
I want to play it, but I just at this point, like I'd rather take the Outriders.
Yeah, I'm not excited.
Have some patches.
I'm not excited to play it anymore at all.
I almost think like because of the backlash, maybe it does get a performance mode down the road. So
maybe. I mean,
we'll see if they care.
If they had plans for it beyond this.
My thing about it, which I was telling my buddy, is like, how long is it going to take from the release of Gotham Knights until we get the inevitable, here's our roadmap, to fix the game?
I don't know.
How far, like, it's got to be next week already.
Do you think
they have to put that out?
Do you think it's that, or do you think it's more likely they don't really talk about it until after they get this first thing out? And then in a couple years, the studio is just absorbed back into WB. Doesn't exist anymore.
I don't know.
That's the second time you guys have fucked up a Batman game. Goodbye.
It's for real. Like it's like, and that was the thing. Like, and that was the big thing for me being skeptical about this game too. From the beginning, it's like, okay, I know who's making it. It's not the Rocksteady because they're working on Suicide Squad, which I have to imagine will be a game that's probably competent.
Hope so.
When it does come out, they're taking their time.
At this point, it better be, or this whole like round of Batman stuff is done.
For sure. But like I have more faith in them because they have produced good products in the past. Montreal has not produced a good Batman game. So
how come none of the reviews talked about the scale of the cars versus the people in this game?
Because, oh my god.
Remember in the last game Batman was
Firefly
bigger
fight?
Than cars.
He was literally bigger than the car in that fight.
Yes.
Boy, that game sure was bad.
Yeah, I just like I read through. To be fair, I didn't read any of the quote unquote good reviews for Gotham Knights. I read the 4 and the 5, and they both said the same kind of things. Like, you're just gonna get bogged down by everything. I watched some people play it for about 30 minutes co-op. Okay. It's choppy. It's real choppy. I mean, obviously, I'm watching it on YouTube, so I'm not getting what they're seeing, but
for sure,
it's choppy, and that's not good.
For sure.
And for them, and for reading about the combat, there's no counter system in this game.
Weird.
That's the whole fucking point of the Batman combat.
Exactly. They Rocksteady created this.
Yes, they invented that. Spider-Man used it, and it's great.
It was great there.
That's what people want for that 3D combat type stuff. So for them to rework the combat, which was arguably the best part about those games, probably a mistake.
I don't know. But yeah, for me, like I said, that went from a Black Friday purchase to I'm just gonna wait a while.
Yeah,
we don't need to play right now.
Nope.
There's no rush.
Nope.
Especially for a game that I don't think the story of this Batman game is gonna change the rules about Batman or anything like that for me. So, but yeah, I don't know. So as always, thanks again for all your emails that you sent in. Podcast572@gmail.com is where you can send the emails in. We enjoy them all. Yes. Game recommendations, whatever.
Everything.
Please continue to email in. Other than that, I think we're going to wrap it up here. We'll be back in another 2 weeks with another edition of Podcast 572.
Thank you everyone
all for listening.